Hello and welcome to Video Game Town. This is a brand new website that me and my co-host Grant formed. My name is Jared Russo. We are writer, editors, internet denizens, experts in our field, and we love video games. And so we figured we would start our own website, and this is the inaugural podcast. Say hi, Grant.
Hello, Jared.
How are you this fine day?
Just fine. I have a bunch of welts all over myself because I was working in the yard.
Ow, how'd you pick up welts?
Take a chainsaw to all the overgrowth that's happening in your backyard, and then you spend weeks on end cleaning up that overgrowth and putting it into a yard waste bin. You get welts.
Yeah, having a yard does not sound like it's worth it.
You do get to have some nice times out there. Jared, how are you doing today?
Great, because I did not spend any time outdoors doing manual labor.
That will do it.
Sorry to rub salt into the wound.
No, it's okay. The salt into the welts. I get it. Yeah, no, we're here today. We're doing a podcast kind of to teach you who we are. Why should you care? Who are we? What have we done? What are some of our accolades? And just get a better sense of what kind of podcast this is going to be.
This is going to be whatever kind of podcast we make it into, which is mostly just you and I talking and sometimes disagreeing. Who are we? We're two former co-workers at a website called Dig. We hit it off immediately because we both had the same perspective on the gaming industry and nerd pop culture ephemera. And ever since Dig dissolved, we decided to form our own thing. And I guess we can go over our resumes, although that might sound a little boring. I don't know.
Yeah, get a background about what we're doing, who we are, and then eventually we can get into what this website actually is, and podcasts and stream and all that good stuff.
All right, I guess I'll go first in that I wrote for my high school newspaper, and many of the people who I met in middle school and high school, I'm still friends with to this day, who helped build this website, and we have been arguing about gaming stuff literally ever since, every single day since. I've written for AOL Games, I've written for Vice and Waypoint, I worked at Google, I've written for a ton of other places doing freelance work, hosting podcasts, writing, editing, doing video stuff. Worked at a VR lab with a HTC Vive. Used to review games. Used to get sent codes when I worked at Geekbench. I helped design a mobile game called Trivia Party that is no longer available. I've sort of been there and done that, and I've been to New York Comic Con a bunch of times, and I've done a ton of different interviews with people. I've also done a lot of like sports stuff because I'm a sports nut. And yeah, now we're here building something on our own, and hopefully we garner a community of like-minded individuals who appreciate our work and all the inane rankings that I will be putting together for very silly things, because that's what I like to do. I like to rank things that do not matter.
All the editing rounds that I put Jared through to go, this is just a list of things. What if there was commentary as well?
I mean, you do make my work better, but I do know that people love a long list and they love arguing about it. And sometimes putting the list together is more fun and easier than like actually having to explain.
Yeah, unfortunately, commentary is kind of comes along with the job. But I do understand your love of lists. Certainly, you're a list maniac.
People love lists.
I love LAMP. For me, I'm Grant Brunner. I've been a professional writer for 18 years, if you'll believe it. I spent about 6 years at Dig. I was the commerce lead for a good chunk of it, and then I was an editor just doing curating videos and links and writing commentary about a lot of video games, a little bit of movies and tech and stuff like that. And I was there. I was part of the group that actually hired you, Jared. And I remember what made Jared like stick in my mind is he brought up the Jason Schreier books in the interview. And I'm like, okay, I know like the kind of person this is going to be. If he's bringing up in the interview the things that he likes and the quality of content that he likes. It's those Jason Schreier, those first two Jason Schreier books. I'm like, okay, I get it. And then of course we ended up talking pretty much every day. Like I would say the vast majority of days since we began working to each other, we have talked to each other. Would you say that that's right?
Well, not only is that true, I have no recollection of that interview process other than...
You just blacked out.
I think I might have... I blacked out. I'm trying to remember what I did bring up. I think it was the John Boy videos. They were like, oh, have you heard of John Boy? And I was like, man, I've been there from day one. Mm-hmm. I remember talking about, but I don't remember anything else I said in that interview.
No, I remember Jason Schreier. And before that, I was for 6-7 years, I was a permalancer with Ziff Davis. I wrote a lot of editorial content, specifically around tech and games for extremetech.com. And then I would also do commerce content kind of across Extreme Tech Geek, PCMag.com, primarily those, and like sometimes I was featured in the digital magazine. Before that, I co-founded a website called Macgasm. Worked on that for, it was probably, I don't know, something that was like 6-7 years. Covered a lot of like Apple stuff. Like we launched it before the iPhone existed. So it kind of gives you the context of like how old timey that shit is. It was.
Wait, Apple existed before the iPhone?
It's true. But one might recognize that we called it Macgasm and not like iPhone-gasm or some shit.
Yeah,
or like iPod, like the iPod was like a thing we were talking about, which gives you some context. I launched that with a good friend of mine, Josh Schnell, who I then later would go on to work with at Dig. And so like I've kind of just been doing it for a long time. Been podcasting for about 20 years now, just for fun a lot of the time, but I've done occasional professional podcasts here and there for work. It's been a long time of covering tech and games and media in general. I would say it's been a longer run than I think I expected, because we started things and it was like, well, the economy's not great. Getting a job's pretty hard. So what if we spend our time doing something, productive? And that led to the better part of 2 decades of a career. And just when I thought I was out, they dragged me back in. Giant Bomb was going through some stuff, and thankfully, knock on wood, Giant Bomb has come out of it better. They've gone independent, and that's great. Kind of in 1 week, the Giant Bomb was on fire, and Polygon got sold, and they just cut it was like 20 people. They cut almost all their staff. Like they only left like 5 or 6 people left on their staff, and it was really brutal. And we were just like, what if we did something? What if we created a website where we could talk about video games and do our writing, which obviously you and I are both writers by trade. We can do podcasts, we can do streams. Like, we can do it. We have the capability of running websites. 2 people, your friends from middle school are in a chat, are kind of in a Discord, and you kind of like, well, what if we just merged Grant into my broader friend group and did some fantasy league stuff for video games, which I think is to tell you that like even during our off time when we're not doing work, it's still talking shit about video games.
We were doing it for free.
Yeah, exactly. Meeting all those people, I believe it was Jack Miller who kind of initiated it. Giant Bomb and Polygon was like, well, what if we like started our own thing? And then
yeah, what if we made a website that didn't suck shit?
Yeah, what if we did that? And then Aaron Miller, who is his cousin, correct?
Yep.
It was like, oh, hey, I can do some tech stuff. And then you and I, running stuff, we can make content. Jack can kind of do the business stuff, and Aaron can do some the behind-the-scenes stuff. And all of a sudden, bam, we kind of very quickly, things kind of got all together to make Video Game Town.
What helps tremendously is the speed of which we got the name and the URL, and that just expedited it, because naming things takes forever.
Yeah, that's an Aaron Miller special. Want to give credit where credit's due. He just
is
had
he the
that.
mayor?
Well, he certainly is like the founder of the name, at least of the town itself. If not the website, definitely the town.
He's the Jebediah Springfield. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm serving as editor in chief, which basically means that not only I writing, I'm kind of in charge of doing kind of editorial, like, applying our style, our voice, making sure that all of our written work and our freelancers all kind of like fit the tone and voice of the website. And you're serving as like our chief content officer, as kind of like the goofy fun times. How can we generate good fun ideas for things like podcasts and things like streams and things like that? We're generating hashtag content for a hashtag website.
Well, I would like to think of myself more as a court jester or a town fool, the village idiot, where I just run through naked and just scream like, what if we ranked Ratchet and Clank guns? And everyone went, that's him running through naked again with his crazy ideas. But then you let me do it.
I do ask, let's say, Jared, hey, maybe we should put on some shoes if we're going to run through town. We don't want to step on use needles or anything. And you go, okay, fine, but I still get to be naked the rest of the way. And I say, yeah, okay, sure. And that's how we made a website.
Yeah, we just like our birth, we came into this town naked and yelling.
And afraid.
Oh, I'm not afraid.
I'm afraid.
Maybe people who read the site should be afraid.
I'm afraid on what the next pitch is going to be of Jared says, hey, I've got a new wild idea, and I'm a little afraid of that.
I have a bunch of drafts up in our WordPress of like what the future might look like, and man, oh man, you should always check in there every once in a while to see like what I'm generating, like in Roller Coaster Tycoon, where you can like experiment on the lab. It's like, what's the next ride I could be building in several months, and you're like, oh, a haunted ghost ship that swings up and down, like.
A ghost.
Should we discuss our favorite games of all time so people know what we are into, and hopefully they'll be like, oh, okay, I see what games they're going to cover, because it's not World of Tanks and it's not Candy Crush or Clash of Clans.
Yeah, it's also kind of like hilariously not the video games that are extremely popular. Like, not that these games on this list are like unpopular, but we're not talking about Fortnite broadly, which is not to say that we'll never, ever, ever cover Fortnite. I wouldn't say that for either of us, something like Call of Duty would be high up in like our favorite games list.
I like Call of Duty. I've played all the Call of Duties.
It's fine, but would you say that it is even close to your favorite games list?
I mean, I think Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare 2, they would be real contenders for like a top something, but Fortnite's a gold mine. Have you seen what Darth Vader's been saying recently?
Sabrina Carpenter is here. She's gonna dab at Darth Vader, etc., etc.
And Squidward and Peter Griffin and doing the Dougie.
I wouldn't say either of us, and obviously you've played a substantial amount. I have played Fortnite, I believe, one time, and that was when they pushed to Unreal Engine 5, and I'm like, I want to see Unreal Engine 5. Like, I want to poke at it. What does it look like running in a real game? And I think that is the only time I've ever touched Fortnite. But let's kick things off. I'll start when you want to switch off one by one.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to start off. These are games that set my taste. And not just my taste in video games, but also, to some degree, my taste in other things. I think the first one kind of sets that up. Day of the Tentacle, which is a LucasArts game. It's a point-and-click adventure game. It is the sequel to Maniac Mansion. It is a Dave Grossman and Tim Schafer joint. It is one of the most important games in my life, not just for, like, understanding what I liked about video games, but also kind of, like, being a large part of my sense of humor, I think, is setting me down a path on what I think is funny and how I would write things. You know, it is an inventory-driven puzzle point-and-click adventure game that involves time travel, so it definitely has the sci-fi element, and you're dealing with a mutated tentacle that's trying to take over the world, but so much of it is based on what are the funny things that these people can say to each other and interact with through, like, dialogue trees. Like, a great example is when there are three characters, Bernard, Laverne, and Hoagie, and Hoagie goes back in time, Laverne goes forward in time, and Bernard stays in the present. Hoagie goes back in time and sees the Founding Fathers as they're forming the Constitution, and so, like, kind of like a dialogue puzzle, tricking George Washington into cutting down a fake cherry tree. That kind of thing really kind of set the tone on what I loved out of games, of, like, you having to think laterally, because, like, oh, well, there's a tree there, but it's like a kumquat tree. And he says he'll only cut down a cherry tree. How could I convince him to cut down this tree? I really love that game. I play it probably maybe once a year, maybe once every other year, something like that. But I return to it, and I would say that I have the puzzles memorized at this point. And I do think it's something that will, because I know you're not a point and click person, Jared, but I think it's it's something that will do on streaming at some point, to be like, get you to understand what about point and click adventure games, you know, drives me wild.
Is it the completely inane and incomprehensible? Isn't that the one where it's like you have to like put like a rope and a chicken and something, and it's like no one would ever figure out that solution?
No, you're thinking of a rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle, and that's a Monkey Island puzzle.
Monkey Island, okay. I know. I feel like that's like the litmus test for like, are you insane enough to play these games and like figure out that nonsense, or it's like, nah, I'm good.
There will often be like one puzzle in a game that people will be like, there's in Day of the Tentacle, there's a puzzle that people seem to not love, or that many people got stuck on it back in the day. It's not a car, it's like a wagon, because it's back in the past, and it's like, well, it's dirty. Like, what kind of things would you do? We need rain rain and there's a dirty car here. Like, how do you do that? And then not to spoil a like 30-year-old game at this point, but the solution is the kind of like the folk idea of it will rain as soon as you wash your car, as to say, like, you wasted your time washing your car because the rain would have washed it. And so, like, you have to wash the wagon in the past, and then that will cause rain, and that will, do the quest chain or whatever to get you further. And I think that is one of the examples of that people, you kind of have to know that culturally. That is a thing that people say, is the like, oh, of course it's raining, I just washed my car. Or I washed my car, now watch it, it's going to rain tomorrow. It's like a thing that happens that some people say in the United States. And if you don't have that cultural context, then yeah, you probably would struggle on that particular puzzle.
As someone who hasn't driven a car since I was 17 and will never own a car or drive one again, clearly true degenerates made these games, and I want no part of it.
Well, I have some bad news about one of the things we're going to be streaming.
Oh, God. All right, well, I understand that you like those games, and lots of other people like those games, but let me talk about a game that everyone loves, and there should be no debate about. My favorite games ever have the word Mario in the title, which, until middle school, I was saying Mario, because I'm from New York, and everyone who we know made fun of me and basically bullied me into saying it correctly. But for my whole life, it was Mario.
But it's a him, Jared.
It's a him. Any game with Mario, I will sort of automatically love. And then, with very few exceptions, probably like that really bad Mario Tennis game that like had nothing in it. Every once in a while, there's like a Mario sports game that isn't good. They're perfect. They're video games to a T. You press a button and an Italian man jumps. And that connection makes my brain feel good because all the neurons in it are like, oh, you hit a button and he jumped. Oh, my God. It wasn't the first game I ever played, but it was the first game I ever loved. And I've basically played every Mario platformer and almost every single Mario sports game and a majority of Mario Party games. I don't think I played the Sega Philips CDI ones, and I haven't done like Mario's Missing or Mario Teaches Typing or any of that crap.
So what you're saying is we need to do the CDI games on stream.
No. I could do a fairly comprehensive, like, legit list of the best Mario games, like, off the top of my head.
What about Japanese Super Mario Bros. 2?
It's not good.
But did you play it?
Yeah.
Did you beat it?
No, it is like Dark Souls 20-something years before Dark Souls, and it's just trolling. It's just them laughing at how they control the player.
The real Mario starts here.
To Prepare to Die edition. Mario 2. I don't even like Mario USA, which is Mario 2 for us. I don't think it's that great.
Oh,
I think the best is Mario World.
Come
Mario
on
World
now.
is like that's the greatest game ever made is Mario World.
So growing up, my first games were Super Mario Brothers. First game I ever played on NES. My family had an NES. Cousin's family had an NES. Obviously, Super Mario Brothers, a big influential game for me. Had Super Mario Brothers 3. We never had 2. US 2. I was like a teenager and the ROM scene happened. Actually, you know what? I don't even think that was a ROM scene. I think that when they put it out on the GBA, because it was like Super Mario Advance was a kind of like an advanced port or like remake of Super Mario Bros. 2. I played through all of that on the Game Boy Advance. That's where it was, and I fucking loved it. It's great. It's obviously very different because it's like, blah blah blah, Doki Doki Panic. We all know it's a great game. That's a really really lovely game.
Listen, like, it is like a lot of other platformers that I don't super love, where it's like the art and the music and the character, like all these things can be awesome, but I'm such like a level design nut that it's like I'm lost. I don't know where I'm going. Like, I'm going into things, I'm going left and right and up and down, and it's just like you get a little lost, and it's like only certain games have been able to just master it. It's like you're just going, you're flowing, you're running, and you're jumping, and you don't have to sort of like think twice about like, oh, I'm stuck in this weird glut in the middle of this Sonic map where it's like I gotta like figure out how to get out or whatever. When I feel like Mario 2 has a lot of that, where it's like 3 or the Rayman games or it's Donkey Kong games or Kirby games. It's like it is so just like they make levels that are fun and enjoyable, but like, it's like they're just invisibly directing and pushing you to go forward, and you're not like getting lost in this like Metroidvania map nonsense. Anything with Mario, I'm your guy. I'm the one who has all the toys and the pins and the shirts and all that stuff. So I'm like Leonard Maltin, film critic. He's like a Disney historian. Like, that's me from Mario.
You know which Mario I've never played, and we should probably figure out a way to do it on a stream at some point. Galaxy 2. I played through Galaxy 1 and I loved it. I just was busy, had other things going, and I never got around to Galaxy 2. And I hear people say that it's like, it very well might be the best Mario game that's ever been made.
Oh my god. I had a feeling you were going to say that, and I was like, don't say Galaxy 2, because that's going to break my heart. I can't believe you've even played Galaxy 2. Oh!
I was never like, fuck Galaxy 2. That's not why.
No.
I like, because I played Galaxy and I liked it. It was good. I don't think I love Galaxy as much as I love like Super Mario 64 or maybe even Odyssey, but it's really good. Like, I don't think anybody who likes Mario games are like Galaxy. It's fucking bullshit.
No, they're incredible.
No, it's good. It's a very, very good game. I'm going to go with my number 2, Dear Esther. Obviously, the kind of like the game that did walking simulators, kind of set walking simulators on a path of success to some degree, and notoriety is with the Gone Home. But my introduction to walking simulators as a genre, and this is obviously before walking simulator was an established term, because obviously it's like halfway derisive and halfway reclaimed. But Dear Esther, which started as a mod, I believe it was using the Half-Life 2 engine, and then they made it and just released it into a full game on Steam, on PC, and then I think much, much later it eventually came to consoles. But I played it on a PC in, like 2012, I want to say is when the full game came out, something like that. And it changed how I viewed video games, because so much of it is implied. It is a lot of storytelling. You're walking around an environment and it's setting a mood, and you're getting these diary pages, and sometimes you'll have like a flashback. Some of the really interesting things about it is that a lot of it is you just have to put together the story yourself based on what you're being told, but also there's some randomization in what you're getting, in like how things are portrayed. So I played it like blew my mind. And then I had my wife, my girlfriend at the time, play through it. I was watching her play through it, and I'm like, oh my god, they this scene here, it was different, like not like crazy different, like it's not like, oh, this is entirely different, but like it implies some things about why you're on the island or how things are going. And I'm like, oh, like if I had seen this, I would have interpreted the game differently. And I thought that was very, very, very neat. And there's also like this is a very old game, so mild spoilers, but there's a point where you see you're in a place where there's cliffs, and you're not on the cliffs, you're kind of like more towards the water, but you can see up on the cliffs, and you can see a person like up on the cliff very far away from you, and a chill ran down my spine. It's not a horror game, or I guess kind of at the time is like didn't know like, is this a horror game secretly? But I'm just like, oh my god, there's a fucking person. And I think that's probably like maybe the most intense fear I felt about a video game, even though like I've played like Resident Evil, like I've played like actual horror games, but when you play a horror game, you're kind of like bracing yourself for there's going to be some scary shit happening.
A chainsaw man with a sack over his head. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and that's scary. Like, I'm not saying that those things aren't scary, but like I was totally unprepared for it. And like having that chill up my spine really, really like locked in that memory for me. So Dear Esther, I think very influential for me.
I have played every walking sim, critically acclaimed narrative first-person shooter there is besides Dear Esther. So that's another stream game for us, I guess.
We gotta get it. We gotta play Dear Esther because it's so fucking good.
One of my favorite things of all time is Gone Home, and there's a lot of similar moments in that game where it feels like a horror game, and like a light will burst, or you'll see like blood that you think, and it's like hair dye, or it's like all these like moments where you're like, oh my god, there's gonna be like a dead body somewhere in this house. I know it.
And they pull the rug out from under you.
I think what's gonna end up happening is by the end of this podcast, people are gonna be like, so Grant likes sad robots, and Jared likes horny Souls-likes. Gotcha.
Mario noted horny Souls-like.
I said by the end of the podcast, not the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, I played every Souls-like. Just anything from adjacent. Just that's me. Because I am gameplay, and Grant is story, and those are two completely diametrically opposed philosophies on like what we're looking for in games. Like you're looking for people who talk, and I'm looking for people who kill.
Like, listen, I often think that a lot of the things that are represented as story in games are gameplay. Like dialogue trees are gameplay. Like period, end of story. I will not be convinced otherwise, that like you're working your way through a dialogue tree in whatever a BioWare game or a point-and-click adventure game. Like you're playing the game. That's you playing the game.
Yeah.
And like a cutscene is
yeah.
Like a cutscene obviously is not like particularly like you're not playing in that like you can set your controller down. But I think like you're doing discussion. You're working through dialogue. That's gameplay, baby.
No, I agree 100%. But it's like, to me, it's like watching a cutscene is like the least interesting thing, even if it's done really well. Like, I'm not there to watch the cutscenes, although they can be great. I'm there to move a thing. There needs to be locomotion. There needs to be like, you know what I mean? Like a tactile response of my fingers, my fingy tips on a controller, and what I'm doing with the character, or what I'm asked to do, or what the game is sort of like, what it's come up with, which is why I really love platformers, segue. And I love the PS2 era platformers of like Ape Escape, Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, like, those are, man, I would just wish we were back in that era of like late N64, early PS2, like late PS1, like, oh, they're figuring platformers out. And then there's like a whole glorious golden era where it's like they were dying, but it was just like, man, Mario Sunshine, this is a game. Like, they invented a thing, and it's like, that's how you move, and that's how you squirt water, and Luigi's got like a vacuum, and it's not about like punching or shooting. It's like another way of interacting with a game, whether it be like sneaking or crawling or climbing, something like Snake Pass, where you're a snake and you're like coiling and you're like slithering. It's like interesting ways of playing or controlling a character in which you're not just slashing with a sword or blowing something up with a rocket launcher. As much as I love those, if you can come up with something even more clever or unique or interesting, like, that makes you go very high in my list of like, oh, now we're getting somewhere with interactive media and art.
And so what is the pinnacle of this? What's the game that you're choosing here, and like your favorite game of all time?
Sly 2.
I have played Sly 1. I have not gone deep on Sly. I wasn't a PlayStation, like I had a PlayStation 2, but very, very, very late. At the time, I was very much a GameCube, Nintendo focused player, and PC to some extent. So like I missed out on large chunks, and like I only had a couple of PlayStation 2 games that I got like, very late, very discounted. So like I didn't play a lot of them, but then the PS3 era, they did a lot of like remasters, and I had played some of I think Sly 1, and I just haven't dug into that series. But listen, obviously that team has a sparkling record.
They do. But like, I like Sucker Punch when they were doing their fun comedy, cartoon, animal stealth things. That Sly 1 is linear. It's like just like kind of level based. Sly 2 and 3, they're like side quests, and there's like collectible green bottles, and then like that lets you upgrade to get like new abilities, which like kind of makes it like more interesting to like go around the open world and like pickpocket people for money to like buy things. And like there was an economy, and they had all these different like mini games sort of thrown in. And as much as I adore early God of War and like Half-Life 2 and Counter-Strike and Halo and all this stuff of that era, there was so much more of that stuff coming out, and there was never like another Sly Cooper. Like, there was never anything even remotely close to that. So that's why that sort of sticks with me more than some of the greatest games of all time, which I still love dearly. A gazillion people have played Counter-Strike and Half-Life and Halo and Call of Duty. And it's like, not enough people have played the Sly Cooper games, which like really turned into something great. Like, they're really funny, and like you just go to all these different like places around the map. Like, you're in like Venice, and you go to like the Canadian wilderness, and then you go into like the jungles of India, and you're like going to all these like really cool places. Then you end up in like a Jules Verne like blimp world where you're like in the air, and it's like, man, this is like BioShock before BioShock. Sly 2, what a great game.
I'm gonna go my number 3, Disco Elysium, or Disco Elysium, depending on your preferred pronunciation. It's a game that I have tried to get Jared to play, and he bounced.
I played it.
Well, you played for what, an hour?
It was like a good 2 hours, and then I didn't know where I was going, and I was reading a lot, and I was bored, and I was like, I don't get this.
In many ways, it is like a CRPG. Like, Planescape Torment is often what is is compared to. But it's also a little bit like a point-and-click adventure game. It's kind of like a hybrid of the two. It's unfortunate because like the studio has kind of been seeing some really rough times, and who knows if we'll ever even see a proper follow-up. I know that like a lot of the team has scattered to the winds, and they're doing a lot of like, well, this is from, you know, 1/8 of the Disco Elysium team or whatever. The game itself, though, kind of came out of nowhere for me. It's not like it was something that I was watching and waiting for it to come out, but it is. I think it is easily, you know, in the 2010s to 2020. It's the best game, or my favorite game from that decade. It is such a sharp, funny, and like kind of like caustic and political, you know, a game with caustic political commentary. And it's a game that's like kind of unapologetically made by leftists, which is not something that you have and think about a lot in video games, because like it's a game where you can have like make your character like absolutely like pro-capitalist, like because your main character is like a cop. And you can be like, I love cops, I love power, I love wielding power, I love, you know, for bosses, for the people who have a bunch of money. You can be that character, and then, spoilers, doesn't go great for you. Which is not to say that it goes great for you if you just like, I'm a communist, I'm dyed in the wool, I'm an ideologue, which doesn't mean that it's gonna go great for you either. But it's pretty clear where they thank Marx and Engel on the Game Awards, like, which is like I think basically like no other dev studio is ever going to fucking do. Like these are like weirdos. Like it's started from like weirdos in Estonia, and then they moved to the UK to make the game, etc., etc., etc. But like it's from a kind of like a counterculture group of people from Estonia who very much have like you're in Eastern Europe, you're going to have a different view on the world and politics and economy than somebody in Western Europe or somebody in the United States. Your experiences are going to be very different. And kind of getting that political commentary there, I think it's so sharply written. It's so funny and kind of crushing at the same time. Like there's very, very sad moments, but it's also some like absolutely laugh out loud moments. It's not really a comedy, but it is maybe one of the funniest games I've ever played.
But there's no disco in it.
There is disco in it. You just didn't play enough.
What?
There is totally disco in that game.
Listen, when I play jazz punk, there's jazz. There's punk.
There's disco and Elysium, both in the same fucking game.
Yeah, we'll see. Speaking of games that are not primarily about combat, I love puzzle games. Love me a good puzzle game. And I mean that from Blueprints and The Witness all the way down to Tetris, which is maybe just straight up the greatest thing ever created by mortals. But you know what's technically a puzzle game? Is Katamari Damacy.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it is technically a puzzle game. I wouldn't say that it's like maybe even primarily a puzzle game, but it is a puzzle game.
No, yeah. Like, they intentionally put random detritus around in a pattern, and you have to sort of like strategically go around the level and pick up certain things that are small to grow bigger, and then, you know what I mean? Like, it's like they laid it out in a certain way.
Like an action-adventure puzzler.
Yes. I love Katamari Damacy. That was a thing that lifted a veil over my eyes and like blew my mind. I was like, oh my god, like, you can do this? You could be pure, unadulterated, weird Japanese import nutso with the most amazing music and like just like weird, beautiful, avant-garde art, and the story, it's like the king of all cosmos knocks all the stars out of the sky, so you're using garbage on Earth in an environmental kind of message to like create planets again. And then there's like this family that like keeps like, it's like the Boy Who Cried Wolf, where like the kids are like, Mom, like look outside the window. It's like, not now, honey. And it is just so bizarre and so wacky and so completely idiosyncratic in the best way. I will also just mindlessly play like Threes or 2048 or Meteos or any other sort of like addictive puzzle game, Luminous and stuff. And just mindlessly, just my hands can like move and do something, and my brain just sort of like can chill. I'm so jealous of the people who like design and develop them, because I'm like, like I want to be smart enough to like pull that off to come up with something so cool. Viewfinder, and I'm trying to think of like, what was that other one where you're like in the mansion and it was like you could like the angle and perspective you were looking at like made objects bigger or smaller.
Antechamber.
There's Antechamber, and then oh my god, I'm going to lose my mind trying to think of this, but like, I'm going to look this up. You talk about puzzle games.
Yeah, I love puzzle games. I mean, I feel very passionately about Tetris in numerous iterations. Like, probably the Tetris game, like, hilariously, that I played the most is in the aughts. There was a Mac Tetris clone called Quinn, and I just played the ever-loving fuck out of that because it was just like a freeware game. Like, it wasn't anything special. It just, like, you know, ran in a window. And anytime I had free time or I was just kind of like trying to think through a problem, I would just launch it and play the hell out of it. But also, like, Tetris Effect is probably like my all-time favorite Tetris game. It's really wonderful. I also really love Bejeweled. Like, there is Match 3 is kind of like its own subgenre now, but like I just think that like they did it so well with Bejeweled. That like if I'm gonna play a Match 3, it's probably gonna just be the Bejeweled classic on my phone, and it's just a fucking fantastic game. And you're not like earning coins in game to spend, and you're trying to get, you know, like a DLC, and
there's a timer, and
yeah, it's like, well, I mean, like, there are modes that have timers, but like, man, just Bejeweled is incredible.
Yeah. So I found it. It's Superliminal and Maquette.
Yeah, Superliminal, yeah.
And
but you said like geometry. I'm like, oh man, that's Antechamber.
Yeah, no, it is. And I mean, I got lost in the Witness and Blueprints, where I'm like writing notes and I'm like freaking out and losing my mind. And Plants vs Zombies, I guess it's more strategy, like Into the Breach, but
yeah, it's definitely closer to a strategy game.
Peggle, oh my god, dude, Peggle.
I love a Peggle. Love Peggle. And obviously, I love the way Peggle 2 is introduced to the world.
Peggle 2!
Something that is very far up my 2025 potential GOTY list is Root Trees Are Dead. An incredible puzzle game, and I don't believe you've touched it at all.
It's on my wish list. I'm going to get to it. That's something that I need to play.
Like, maybe a streaming game. There's lots of games that we could play on stream.
Yeah, I mean, so this summer I'm doing a lot of traveling, and most of it I'll have a Switch 2. So if it comes to Switch 2, like, obviously, like, that's not a no-brainer.
You can play it on your whatchamacallit, your Steam Deck.
My Steam Deck, I could, but
I played it on Steam Deck.
I would also like to play my Switch 2.
Yeah, that's fair. It's new and shiny. So. My next game, I think this will be unsurprising for anybody who's ever known me for more than, like, let's say 3 or 4 minutes. Mass Effect 2. I love Mass Effect 1, I love Mass Effect 3, and I even like Mass Effect Andromeda. But Mass Effect 2 is just by far, like, it is BioWare hitting on all cylinders. The things about BioWare that I really love, like the style of game that BioWare makes, they're just doing it so well in terms of, like, interpersonal relationships. And, like, some of it is romance. Like, obviously, like, it you know, the romance is a substantial part of a BioWare game. But just the way that, like, you're making all these friends and going in and chatting to them between missions. And it's also, I think, that, like, they figured out how to make a shooter that, like, is less like, oh, well, we put shooting mechanics onto this RPG, kind of like from the KOTOR and Jade Empire mold that BioWare had been working on, which is kind of like, you see very much how Mass Effect 1 is an evolution of those games from, like, the original Xbox era, which, because we now can't say the Xbox One, because of course we can, but the original Xbox era. But, like, you kind of see that where, like, this is a logical where you go from KOTOR to Jade Empire to Mass Effect 1, and you see those things, the part, like, the DNA. And Mass Effect 2 said that it seems like they did, like, a real rethinking on, like, if we're going to make a shooter that has RPG elements, here's what we need to do to, like, really make the shooter part work. And I think that, so, like, they're hitting on all cylinders for storytelling, and I think it's a big step up in terms of combat. Just making one of, like, the best games of all time. Like, I think that you would be hard pressed to make a top 10 list from, like, the Xbox 360 PS3 era and not include Mass Effect 2. It's just an all time great kind of like hybrid game it is an action game, it is an RPG, it is both of those at the same time.
Finally, something that I have played all the way through. Yeah, Mass Effect 2 is awesome. Mass Effect 2 is, like, that whole trilogy in the new collection where they, like, make it all sort of one big cohesive thing. Brilliant. I'm a Jade Empire man myself.
I love Jade Empire, and obviously I love KOTOR. I'm more of a KOTOR 2 person, but I love KOTOR. It's great. I think that the Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter Nights, yada yada yada, like, the historical BioWare is great. Like, I'm certainly not saying that those games aren't great, but they really hit something special with Mass Effect 2. And
Yeah.
it's,
Mostly Miranda.
to some extent, kind of trying to hit that tone for like every game since.
But they've never been able to hit those highs.
Maybe. What's your next one?
Well, I'll briefly mention that I have been playing Street Fighter almost my whole life, and I used to be a big, not just proponent, but like member of the FGC, like going to tournaments and having an arcade stick and watching Evo, and I still do some of that. So I'll mention that there. I guess my final genre of things that I love more than life itself. I got really into collectible card games back when Hearthstone went into closed beta, and I think we all grew up having Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon or Magic, Hero Clicks, whatever, or being into God knows what, Bionicle and Pogs, or the Blade one, like the one where you like rip the thing and it's like a top and it's a little what the hell was that called? Beyblades?
Beyblades. My brain just wanted to say Bakugan, and that was not right.
Or that. Digimon. But then like most people phase out of that in the same way that a lot of people play paintball and they phase out of it, or they're into horseback riding and they phase out of it. But when Hearthstone came out, I was like, oh my god, like something had been deeply planted in my soul that is now being reawakened. And I've been playing Hearthstone almost every single day for more than 10 years. And I'm also really into Marvel Snap. And I was huge on Gwent back when Gwent was done properly, because I love Witcher 3 and I played Witcher 2, and Gwent was perfect. And then they spun Gwent off and then decided to completely change it so that it's 2 lanes. And it's like, no, you had a rock, paper, scissors. You had like the 3 lanes. That was perfect. And they were like, nah, let's do 2 lanes. And they ruined it. But I'm very much into collectible card games if the actual like meat and potatoes of the gameplay is good. Whereas like the Pokemon collectible card game, everyone plays it just to open packs and look at their shiny cards. And it's like, I would rather just go to a printer and just print off like, okay, I have all the Pokemon. Like, to me, it's like the collecting is not it. It's like, no.
Cool. Like, I understand the part of I want to look at cool art. The collecting part does absolutely nothing for me.
Yeah, these games have made collecting so much less important because it's like it's an actual game where there's like a meta and you build decks and you counter what's going on. And I mean, they're all obviously these little like bells and whistles to like make like people be like, oh, meter go up, or oh, I can make this shiny and I can change the, edit the border. But like ultimately it's about like, oh, they're introducing new game modes and there's single player elements to Hearthstone and there's like tournaments and I would compete in tournaments and do quite well. And all that stuff is really fun. And then you get to be a part of like a sub community on a subreddit where it's like there are jokes and you know what I mean? Like people talk about like the patch notes, and you're excited about like new card reveals, and you're watching streamers and you're watching esports, and there's a lot of that stuff that is quite fun, although it's probably has gone down in how big and popular it was compared to like peak Hearthstone. But that's also a very, very, very big part of my everyday. Like, I have a podcast to listen to. I'll play a few games. I'm waiting in line. I'll play a few matches. That's just it is so easy and seamless to just be like, oh, I have like one of the best games on the market, like in my phone, in my pocket right now.
That game, Balatro.
Oh, Balatro! Oh!
And my final of these 5, which obviously is not the be all end all like list, like more than these 5 games, but as a little taste in what we're doing. Ocarina of Time, like, I think is fundamentally set the pace for how I want a third person action adventure to be. And we've in the time since then, in the rapidly approaching 30 years since then, we have improved a lot of things, and camera control and fluidity and the options available to you, having like a skill tree and all those things that have kind of added and made that
accessibility, pacing.
Yeah, of course, like all of those things have improved, but I think the huge step of like, the N64, I think is I wouldn't just go so far as to say it's a failed console, but it is like, it may be a disappointing console when you look at it in like the totality of it, in terms of like how successful was Nintendo in this and how were they able to do things. But like the 2 games, like Mario 64 and Zelda and Ocarina of Time, kind of setting like, here's how you do fucking 3D games, everybody. Like, hey, you guys thought you knew what 3D games are? What if we just tell you how it actually should be, how these games should control on a console are just so wildly important that any of the other shortcomings of the N64 kind of like worth it, right? In that you get Super Mario 64 and you get Ocarina of Time, and those are two like all-timers that even nearing 30 years later, they're still some of the best games that have ever been made.
I mean, you could easily say that for like most of gaming's entire lifespan on Earth. Like if you were to say like Ocarina of Time is like the GOAT, like
it's really
I
good.
think most people will be like, yeah.
I mean, like I don't think that it's like it is untouchable. No game in 30 years has improved upon it. Like that's not what I'm saying. But in terms of like for what it was and the influence that it had going forward, and not only the influence on like the industry, but like the influence on me and my tastes, and like I had played those NES games and I had played the Game Boy game. Like I had played Link's Awakening, and so like I was familiar with Zelda. I didn't have an SNES, and when I had played a cousin's SNES, I don't think we ever played Link to the Past, so I didn't play Link to the Past until later. Which is, I think, some of it is because Ocarina of Time is so much like, what if we took a lot of the bones of Link to the Past and built it out into a 3D world? So I think that it's like that's an important step in there, but man, they really, considering it's like 1997, they just really delivered what an incredible game with Ocarina of Time.
But what if I told you that the game that holds up the best on N64 is actually Paper Mario?
I mean, Paper Mario is really good, and I love the Paper Mario series. And by the series, I mean Paper Mario 1 and Paper Mario 2.
Hey, I'll defend Super Paper Mario.
It's like a totally different thing.
I think it's still really good. It's no Thousand Year Door, maybe the greatest.
I mean, I think Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door like are of a piece. And then everything else is like two varying degrees of quality, and I don't think I think the writing is pretty solid, kind of like across, even in those games that are people just like consider as like loathsome, like the Wii U game and the 3DS game that people are like, ugh. But I don't think anybody is like, oh, and then the writing and localization are bad. Like I don't think anybody thinks that. It's just like, well, all these other parts that you've just like you've made these changes and disappointed everyone. But anyway, Ocarina of Time, that's what I wanted to say. It's a very important game to me.
So I have a trivia question.
Okay.
I want to see if you know
Yeah.
any of the top 10 best-selling games of all time. How many of these can you nail? Because there's one on here that is so tricky, I would never in a million years have figured it out. But you can probably guess most of the top 10.
Grand Theft Auto 5. Minecraft.
That's Grand Theft Auto 5 is number 3. Minecraft is number 2.
Oh my god, more selling than Minecraft?
They take Tetris and they combine all of Tetris into one.
Oh, well, fuck you. Like, eat shit.
I mean, listen, I love Tetris DS, but I wish Tetris DS sold 520 million copies.
Like,
so
that's such bullshit. Lumping in like if you wanted to say port of the exact same Tetris, then that's fine. Like Tetris Effect on PlayStation and Xbox and PC, that's fine. But you don't just say every Tetris game. Those are different games, asshole. So fuck that list is what I need to say.
Okay.
PUBG has to be up there, right?
PUBG's number 5.
Okay. Are they just combining every Mario game? Is that how that works?
No, but I will say that number 4 is something that was bundled in with a console at launch.
Wii Sports?
Wii Sports, that's right.
I mean, because it was listed as like 80 million?
Yeah, it's like 83 million.
Yeah. And I think for a long time, in the early aughts, it was like, oh man, because Super Mario Brothers was bundled with the NES, will any game ever outsell Super Mario Brothers? And I did, yes, of course. But I think that there was a time there when people were like, maybe Super Mario Brothers will be the best-selling game of all time. What about The Sims? Is The Sims up there?
No.
Bullshit. I think I wonder, because like the last like 15 years have just been all digital sales, and EA doesn't really have to tell you how many copies of The Sims it sold. I bet you The Sims is up there. If you said all of The Sims in the same way they did all of Tetris, I bet you The Sims is actually up there.
Well, I'm looking at an IGN list for this. If I go to Wikipedia does not bulk Tetris together. So, although they do, oh wow, Ark Survival Evolved? Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't have come up with it, but I'm not surprised because that game sold a bajillion copies. There's like a really disappointing, like wildly successful aspect of like it's just like Steam slop. Like here's miscellaneous games that get popular because they're they're very popular on Twitch. And I would say probably Ark is part of the Steam slop genre.
Maybe I should be looking at this Wikipedia list because this does say The Sims, but it says it sold 70 million.
I mean, I'm not surprised. The Sims is really popular with people who don't play other video games.
Not 2, 3, 4?
I'm not surprised. The Sims is wildly fucking popular.
All right, so maybe we'll use this one, which also has Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, and every variant of it, which I guess includes like remakes and remasters and stuff.
I mean, obviously, Pokemon is wildly successful.
You can keep naming some games. This is going in a much different direction than I thought it was going to.
Okay. Now I'm thinking about, like, what's the best-selling, like, a PS4 game of all time? It's probably, like, COD. It's probably, like one of the CODs.
You know what's funny? I have to keep scrolling down to find a COD, which is Blops 3.
And it's not high on the list, because those are always, like, the top-selling fucking games.
So I'll say that Minecraft is 350 million plus. GTA 5 is 215 million plus.
So
Wii
I think
Sports is 83.
Yeah, is the distinction because there's a new COD every year, and they're not just selling you the same COD? So, like, if you're not lumping them together, then any individual COD is never... Because, like, GTA 5 is the same game just sold to you over, like, 15 fucking years.
Yeah, so, so this, it's like Blops 3, 43 million, Modern Warfare, 41 million. Like, there's a lot of that.
It is, and then I guess that same theory would apply to, like, the FIFAs and the Maddens, is that, like, because they're spreading it out on individual years, that even though they're probably, like, the best-selling games, they don't rank because you're buying a new one every year.
Yeah, they don't crack, like, 30 million, collectively. So, how about a particular racing game that is very popular?
Mario? Oh, yeah, I mean, of course, Mario, because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is...
Yeah, 8 like, and Deluxe is,
the biggest selling game on the Switch.
Yeah.
If I had actually stopped and thought about the Switch, I would, Mario Kart obviously is up there.
There's another Rockstar game on this top 10.
Red Dead?
Red Dead 2.
Really? Red Dead 2 is a top selling? Is not Red Dead 1?
74 million copies.
Well, I was about to launch it to a side tangent, and I won't. But, like, Red Dead 2 is real good.
I don't think Red Dead 2 is
Dream game!
That's another episode. It's just so boring. It's just so many systems layered onto just like, it's like, what are we... Red Dead 1 is like the best thing they ever made. Red Dead 2, it's like, what are we doing? The Oregon Trail?
Oh, yeah.
I guess that's every version of Oregon Trail.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to, you would be like Solitaire, Minesweeper.
Yeah, this is like Bejeweled. It's like,
Like, I guess, but, like, Minesweeper is just, like, bundled into Windows. So, like, I guess technically, if you want to count Windows. What about that Windows XP era pinball game?
No, although that is a dope game. Here's the game that tripped me up.
Okay.
Terraria. Terraria has sold 64 million copies.
I'm not
I've never once
surprised.
heard a human being talk about Terraria.
Bullshit. You've listened to Jeff Gersman, and that motherfucker loves Terraria.
Okay, I guess I have. But, like, that is so insane to me. And, I mean, this list also has a bunch of other stuff, like Human Fall Flat, the original Super Mario Brothers, Overwatch, Witcher 3, Animal Crossing, Wii Fit, Stardew Valley, World of Warcraft, like, Skyrim. Those make sense. And I'm like, Terraria?
Yeah, because Terraria is like Minecraft but 2D. Of course it would be very successful. And it was really early on. Like, Terraria came out in really close proximity to Minecraft.
That's bananas to me. I will say Smash Ultimate, 36, Sims 4, 36, Tetris for Game Boy, 35 million, Breath of the Wild, 34 million. So, like, the things that you would have imagined are in the 30s. A lot of Call of Duties, a lot of Pokemons. Black Myth Wukong's up here. Borderlands 2 is up here.
Yeah,
Cyberpunk,
I'm not surprised. Like,
Diablo.
In reality, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like secretly some like Chinese game that is like, oh yeah, or like remember when they did they were like, we're bringing Crossfire, one of the best selling games ever, Crossfire, and everyone's like, everybody in the West is like, what the fuck are you talking about, Phil? What the fuck are you talking about? And it's like, in the East it sells a hajillion copies, but nobody in the West has ever one time ever given a fuck about Crossfire.
This is a majority of planet Earth like watches the worst TV, and they all play Roblox and World of Tanks, and the biggest making, like the most generating like things ever are all like Chinese films or Indian films, and it's like there's a real weird echo chamber bubble that like we all live in within another small echo chamber thing, where it's Payday 2 and Sonic are up here, and it's like like Sonic 1 and Payday 2?
Yeah, we're like Payday. Like, I remember when Payday like came out and then Payday 2 came out, like I remember people talked about it for like a couple weeks, and then I never heard anybody ever talk about Payday 2 again until like Payday 3 comes out and they're like, oh, they really fucked the launch of Payday 3.
Yeah, people only want to play Payday 2 because that's where all their skins and crap are.
Yeah, and I also wouldn't be surprised if like some of those Paradox games have like are shockingly high, like Europa Universalis.
Well, I haven't seen those listed on this list, and I also will say that a lot of free-to-play games are not here because they're
of course not, because you couldn't possibly count Fortnite, like because like it has like the most players of all time, but they're paying you $0 to boot the game.
So that and Roblox and League of Legends and Counter-Strike, like those things will not show up, but like we know.
I remember League of Legends shipping in a box.
Boy, weren't those the days?
I'm that old.
We're both old.
So do we want to do... I have another thing, but do we want to save my other segment to another episode because we've run for about an hour?
Sure.
Okay.
We'll keep saving all of our good ideas for future podcasts. Thank you for listening. I wish I could share everywhere that we are.
Go to videogame.town. All of our stuff will be there. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. We're on Blue Sky. We're on TikTok. We're on everything. If you want to find us, go to videogame.town.
That will always be true. That is the easiest place to find us. And then you can find all of the various links and other platforms. But yeah, videogame.town. Exciting stuff.
Absolutely. And we'll talk to you again next week.
Bye-bye.